Hey guys, welcome back to more family drama stories. In this video, I went to prison for false allegations made by my toxic sister and family. Years later, they finally get their comeuppance. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. The first one is titled, "My cousin is framing me for SA. How do I get the truth out?" I just got picked up from school and told that my cousin is spreading a rumor that I sexually assaulted her in her sleep out of nowhere. I've never done anything like that to her and have never even thought about her in any sexual way. I'm scared that she's going to continue this lie and get me put in jail. How can I prove my innocence? Edit, more news has come up. She is now saying that I had done it the last weekend she was at my house and that I tried it multiple times. Thank you all for the help, but I don't know where to go from here. I don't think she's trying any legal stuff, but if she continues to tell people this, I'm going to get a lawyer and send a cease and desist letter, and if that doesn't work, I'm gonna sue her for defamation. I appreciate all the help. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you would be in such an awful situation, what would you suggest OP to do? Let me know in the comments, and now let's read a comment from Reddit that said, "Don't talk to the police without consulting an attorney first. Don't talk to anyone else about this either. You don't have to prove that you are innocent. You are innocent until you are proven guilty, and your attempts to prove yourself have the potential of being used against you. I'm assuming United States." Comment number 2, "Listen dude, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Don't willingly talk to police no matter what they say. You don't have to prove anything. They have to prove that you're guilty." Update, first off, everything worked out in my favor, but it was rough getting there. So after my last post, things got worse before they got better. My cousin kept spreading the rumors at school and on social media, and it got to the point where some of my friends started avoiding me. My parents were 100% behind me though, which made a huge difference. The turning point came when my aunt, cousin's mom, found texts on my cousin's phone between her and her friends. They were basically planning this whole thing because my cousin was mad that I got into the college that she wanted, yeah seriously, and that my family had been bragging about it. She wanted to take me down a notch, and her friend even said that stuff like, this will teach him, and no one will believe him over you. My aunt completely freaked out when she found out the text, and she came to our house crying and showed everything to my parents. Here's basically how that conversation went. "Aunt, I'm so sorry. I should have known that the cousin was lying. She has been acting strange lately, but I never thought she would do something like this. Mom, how could she do this to her own family? Does she understand what this could have done to OP's life? Aunt, I've already taken away her phone and computer. She is grounded indefinitely, but I know that's not enough." Well, my cousin was forced to admit everything, and she wrote out a full confession about how she made it all up. My parents recorded her confession on video with my aunt's permission just to be safe, and then things got seriously legally. My parents' lawyer, a really good guy named Steve, helped us draft a cease and desist letter, but we did not even need to send it. My aunt made my cousin post public apologies on all her social media accounts, admitting that she lied about everything. The post said, "I need to publicly apologize to OP. I completely made up horrible lies about him because I was jealous and angry. He never did anything wrong to me. Everything I said about him was false, and I'm deeply ashamed of what I did, and I'm sorry for any harm I caused." She had to send emails to everyone she had told the lies to, including teachers and friends with the same confession, and the school got involved too. The principal then said, "Given the severity of these false accusations, we are taking disciplinary action. This kind of behavior can ruin someone's life." My cousin ended up suspended for 2 weeks and lost her position as student council secretary. She also had to do community service hours assigned by the school. The best part though, my aunt is making her go to therapy to deal with her issues. It turns out she's been having problems with lying and jealousy for a while, but this was the worst thing she's ever done. Some people asked if we are suing her. We decided not to, mainly because my aunt is a single mom and they don't have much money. She is still technically a minor, and she came clean, and we have her confession. Also, the lawyer said that while we could sue for defamation, it would be expensive and time consuming, and we already got what we wanted, which is the truth out. The lawyer explained, "You have a solid defamation case here. False statements, damage to reputation, admission of malicious intent. But sometimes the best legal victory is avoiding a lengthy court battle when you can get the results you want through other means. Most of my friends came back and apologized for doubting me. A few didn't, but honestly, good riddance. I learned who my real friends are." The whole thing taught me some important lessons: document everything, get legal advice early, stand your ground when you're innocent, and keep your cool even when people doubt you. Also, having supportive parents makes all the difference. As for my cousin though, we don't talk anymore. My aunt still comes to family events but keeps her at home. Maybe someday we can repair the relationship, but right now I'm just focused on starting college in fall. My acceptance did not get affected by any of this drama because we handled it before it could spread too far. Some people in my life suggested I should just let it go early on because she is family, but I'm glad I stood up for myself. False accusations like this can ruin lives, and backing down would have just made people think that she was telling the truth. And the next one is titled, "I went to prison for false SA allegations by my toxic sister and family." You know, if most people looked at my family from the outside, they would have thought that we were the image of the perfect family, and well, to be honest, we were. But the key word here is image. Everything about my family was based on image, and behind the scenes we were extremely dysfunctional. My parents were not extremely rich, but they were more well-off than the average person. We were lucky that I have nannies and such while they were at work. I mean, a nanny could never replace your parents, but our parents didn't do much anyway. Even when they were home, they were still glued to their laptops and taking phone calls. Because of this, my younger sister learned at a very young age how to manipulate them and lie to get what she wanted from them. Most of the time she just wanted attention, at least that's what I think. You know, it's funny how two people can have the same parents and childhood but turn out completely the opposite. My sister Emma was manipulative and always got what she wanted. She enjoyed the status and money aspects of our family dynamic, while I was completely the opposite. I would not even ask my parents for money to help me move out. I was more reserved and quieter, just wanting to stay in my own little corner and mind my business. I had been working 2 jobs to save up for a while. I did have some money saved up already, but I wanted to have a little extra cushion because I was not willing to ask my parents for anything. I was not willing to be like my sister because of wanting to save money. I was very cautious about what I spent it on and budgeted my expense. Keep in mind, my sister and I were not very close. I mean, we never really had problems between us, but I never really related to her or the way that she behaved, so I always felt like our sibling relationship was just surface level. So then one day when she randomly came up to me and asked me for money to upgrade her phone, I did not feel bad saying no. "Didn't you just get that phone like 3 months ago?" I questioned. "Yeah, but they're already releasing a new model," she responded back as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. My eyebrow raised at her tone. "Sorry, but I cannot lend you the money. Why don't you just ask mom or dad?" They are on a business trip out of the country, and you know how they are when they are in work mode. They barely even answer my texts," she yelled, her body language changing as I told her no. She was not used to hearing that. "Well, there's not really anything I can do about that, sister. Your phone is just fine. You will just have to wait." I swear, with that simple sentence, I could see the rage flaring through her eyes. "I will make sure you regret this. Mom and dad help me out all the time. Too bad they raised their son to be a selfish prick," she screamed before stomping away. I did not take any threat to it. I mean, come on, we are in our early 20s and she's throwing a fit like a toddler. I guess I should have taken it more seriously though, because what she did next completely changed the course of my entire life. Our parents returned only 2 days later while I was at work. I had not heard from them, but it was not too uncommon. I would just see them when I got home. And I would also see a detective and the presence of police officers when I got home, and my sister with fake tears running down her face. As I stepped through the front of my house, my parents shot daggers at me. "Mom, Dad, what's going on?" I said, looking around at the police officers. "We cannot believe you, Alex. We raised you better than this." "Alex, you're under arrest for the assault of your sister Emma." My eyes could have popped out of my head, my ears could have exploded. I could not believe what I was hearing. Assault of my own sister? What? I've never assaulted anyone, especially not my sister. "She told us, Alex, she told us what you did while we were gone." Honestly, everything after that was a blur. 1 second I was getting off work, and then the next I was being put in handcuffs. I never thought my sister would stoop so low, and I will never forget the evil smirk on her face as the police officers escorted me out of the house. At the police station, they finally told me the whole story. Emma had told our parents that I verbally and sexually assaulted her while they were gone. My parents then immediately called the police officers and gave a report. My sister was a very convincing liar, but this was low even for her. Despite my protests of innocence, it did not look good for me. I even tried explaining that I was at work while she claimed I assaulted her. I don't even know how they were able to find me guilty, but they actually did. I was absolutely devastated. I kept protesting my innocence and trying to prove it, but at some point in the case, I was advised to just take a plea deal. I had to serve 3 years in prison for a crime I did not even commit. Prison is miserable, in case you were wondering. All the progress I had made in my life felt like it had been completely erased. At first I was extremely depressed. If we were being honest, I would even consider taking my life at one point, but a family friend came to visit me and told me that they knew I was innocent. They could not believe that Emma had convinced not just my parents but multiple people that I had assaulted her. She was still living a carefree life, mooching off of my parents and all that they were. This made me angry to no ends. I was rotting in prison for something I did not do, while she had no remorse or guilt. I dug deep down within myself and decided if she should get to live her life, then I should too. Of course, that's easier said than done while serving a prison sentence. I started working out with my cellmate and he seemed like a good guy, but I was still cautious. You can never be too cautious while in prison. He had done some drug dealings, but it seemed like he was trying to do better his life. In a way, he inspired me too. I also started going to school while in prison, or I guess back to school. I had no one to put money in my account, so I started working in the prison cafeteria. It was pennies a day, but it was something. The more I worked, exercised and committed to my education, the more I was determined to prove my innocence once I got out. And before I knew it, I was now 27 and my release date was coming up. It was scary, honestly. In a twisted way, prison was starting to feel like home. It's not like my family would be there for me when I got out. I was working with some counselors and they were helping me to join a community for those who just got out of prison and were trying to adjust to the outside world. My family was notified of my release date and I will never forget that day. I stepped out of the prison free of handcuffs or the suffocating, humid air of that nasty place. At 27, I was starting over. I was starting with nothing and just a few $100s to my name. I guess since my family was notified of my release, they were talking about me. Well, they were not friends anymore. Apparently, not that long before my release, Emma told her friend the truth. She had lied to get revenge on me. I knew this all along, but damn, hearing it made me emotional. I could not help the tears that gathered in my eyes. Just maybe now I would be able to prove my innocence. It would not take back the last few years, but it would prove my innocence and confirm that I was wronged. In so many ways. Over the next 2 months, I worked with a lawyer to gather information and evidence. Emma told his friend over a phone call, and luckily we were able to retrieve that call. I was also able to get documents proving my time cards, and that I was at work when she claimed I hurt her. With this information, we were able to pursue a case against my sister. My parents were not happy about this and genuinely thought I was just trying to get back at my sister. However, once we were in court, I could see the disbelief all over our friends' and family's faces. My sister ended up getting charged with filing a false police report and of committing perjury. Now it was her time to see what she had really cost me all these years. My parents approached me immediately after court that day. You might think I would be glad that they felt guilty, and the truth was that I did. They deserved to feel guilty for ever thinking I would be capable of committing such a crime. However, that almost meant nothing to me. I chose to have no contact with them because while I was drowning and thinking of ending my own life while wrongfully imprisoned, they did not even think once to check in on me or question my sister and her motives. I cut them out of my life completely and refused any attempts of contact from them. In the years that my sister was then finally in prison, I continued my education and eventually opened my own business. I became a lawyer and ended up opening my own practice. We specialize in wrongful imprisonment and termination cases, and we are damn good at it. I also ended up meeting a beautiful woman named Leslie while in school, and she has been by my side through it all. Currently, we are married and waiting for the arrival of our first child. My sister has now been released from prison and contacted me as soon as she got out. She admitted that the way she had been behaving her whole life got her in this position, and she was extremely regretful for her decisions. She was having trouble starting her life outside of prison, and I don't think I can ever forgive my sister for this, and I will never forget what she did to me. I'm no longer in any kind of contact with my parents or sister, or any of my family for that matter. Some might say I'm holding a grudge, but to me, a grudge is over something petty. What happened to me was life-changing, and I will never be the same because of it. I'm now in a much better place with a beautiful wife, booming business, and a child on the way. But that also does not take away from the fact that my own blood changed the course of my life and took years that I will never get back. And yeah, ripe stars, honestly, I would definitely not be mad at OP for holding a grudge, because honestly, in this situation, who would not hold a grudge against this awful family? Seriously, but I'm happy that OP turned his life around, but it was still heartbreaking to read his story. This one is another HOA story. A friend asked me to watch her cat for her while she was on vacation. So when I went over to feed the cat, I parked in the driveway, fed the cat and left. One day I went to feed the cat and there was a $25 ticket on my car for parking in the driveway. It was from the HOA, not the police or parking enforcement. There was nothing illegal about where I parked, nor have I ever been told not to park in a driveway by anyone. So then I ignored it. The HOA is now pursuing her for the ticket since their authority only extends to their members. She sent them my info and I flat out told them to take a hike. I'm not paying a fine, and if they don't like it, just sue me. She is upset with me and demanding I pay since she will have to pay the fine. If she had told me her HOA does stuff like that and that I need to park on a guest spot instead, well, I would have. However, I don't feel obliged to pay a fine for made-up rules I was never told about. The law in my state is pretty clear. The HOA has no right to fine me, but their members can be held responsible for the violations of guests. So yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this in the comments. Do you think that OP is the a-hole or not? I'm very curious about what you have to say. Comment number 1 on Reddit said, not the a-hole, if there was a parking rule that she knew about, it's up to her to tell you. Now, if she had told you about the parking rule and you had intentionally violated it, then sure, you should pay. However, you were doing her a favor and apparently broke a rule you did not know even existed. That's not your fault. Let's hope the friendship does not end over $25. Comment number 2, not the a-hole, if she lives in an area that strict, she absolutely should have told you the rules. That is on her. Also, if she can afford to go away on vacation, she can pay a $25 ticket. I'd be flat out embarrassed to demand that of a friend, especially one that was doing me a favor and taking care of my pet. And the next one is titled, Terrible Neighbor Kids. I was working in my office yesterday when I heard loud bangs and splashes in my backyard, followed by laughing. I looked outside and saw my neighbor's kids were on their trampoline throwing fruit from their trees into my backyard and trying to make shots in my pool basketball net. My pool had at least 20 pieces of fruit in it and it was all on the cement. Luckily my dog was not out there because she would have eaten it. I ran outside and yelled, "Stop that right now! Get down from there!" I don't think I've yelled that loud in my life before. I startled them because they didn't know that I was home. One of them started crying while the other said, "I'm telling my mom you yelled at us." And then they took off for inside. My neighbor came out when I was cleaning the fruit out of my pool and asked why I yelled at her children. And I explained to her what happened. She told me, "They're just looking for things to do. Their whole summer was taken from them and they were just having fun. And it's my job to discipline them, not yours." I had not really had a whole lot of interactions with this neighbor, and this was probably the most I've ever talked to her. I yelled at them because they were destroying my pool, which now I'll probably have to drain, and they could have broken a window or hurt someone if any of my family were out there. So, am I the a-hole? And yeah, Ripe Stars, what do you think here? Do you think that OP is the a-hole or not? Let me know. Comment number 1, not the a-hole. Hire a pool service to evaluate the pool and what needs to be done and then present her with the bill. Pretty sure this qualifies as vandalism. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. At the mother's words, "And it's my job to discipline them, not you." I wish you would have said, "So why weren't you?" Basically, damaging a neighboring property should not be considered appropriate entertainment for children. Full stop. And the next one is titled, Terrible Family. So sister-in-law is the kind of mom that always has to one-up other kids. She constantly talks about how her kids are smarter, taller, faster, etc. than her friends' kids. She literally bragged about them being more than their friends' kids when they were babies. It was worse when my husband and I had our twins. Suddenly, everything was a competition. That her kids always won, of course. One of my girls rolled over at 4 months and her son had rolled over when he was just a week old. The twins both took their first steps around 13 months and her daughter was running at 4 months. She did not actually start walking until around 16 months. She even changed the weight of her kids' birth weights, which makes them both heavier than the current heaviest newborns in America. It's so weird that she feels the need to tell such obvious lies, especially to people who know she is lying because they were there when her kids were small. I got annoyed when she went from lying about her own kids to telling me that there's something wrong with mine. The girls are a few months shy of 2 and they are both healthy, on track and hitting their milestones. Sister-in-law has become obsessed with the idea that there's something wrong with them because they are not speaking in long sentences. Of course they are not. They are not even 2. They are both developmentally on track, but she insists that her children were speaking in 5 to 6 word phrases by 18 months. Spoiler alert, they weren't. Honestly, her son is almost 7 and I can still barely understand a word the kid says. My husband and I ignored her, but she took it too far when I got a call from her friend who works in early intervention, who was under the impression that I was very concerned about my children. We talked and her friend confirmed that yes, they are on track and no, there's nothing to worry about. I finally lost my patience there. Her kids are breaking almost every record there is, and that should be celebrated. So we had dinner with my husband's family on Saturday, the kids were in another room, and I decided it was the perfect time to give her my gift, which was a booklet I had printed and laminated called the White Claw Book of World Records. I printed all the supposed milestones of her kid, complete with photos and info of the actual world record holders now that they had been pushed to second place. She flipped through the first couple of pages, went beet red and called me an a-hole. Her husband took it from her and got through the first page before laughing hysterically and asking her why the hell she was still lying. Apparently, it was not the first time that they talked about her lying about her kids. She stormed out but texted me later that night and asked why I had humiliated her when she all had ever tried to do was help me get my kids the help they needed, but if that was how I wanted to treat her, then she would stop. So I guess it's a win for me. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I don't know how you feel about that, but I absolutely hate it when people are lying. And I am all for exposing people who are bragging or lying about any achievements they actually haven't gotten. Let me know what you would have done in that situation. And yeah guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. And also check out my podcast by searching for Ripe Stories on Spotify, Amazon, Audible and other podcast platforms. You will often find exclusive episodes and early access to new content. Furthermore, please check out my Patreon by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or my YouTube membership program for even more exclusive stories. Thank you so much and I will see you again tomorrow.